So a question I get asked a lot is what starts the downswing? What should I move first? What's the trigger from the top of my swing? Now, the information I will feed back to that player will obviously, like anything, depend on what that player needs to work on. So generally, you might think, or you might have heard, or we might say that you would go ground up. It's quite a common phrase. So start from the ground up. And that would mean if I was throwing a ball, so holding the ball here, I would move my lower body, probably take a step back towards the target, and then my upper body arm would release the ball in that sequence. However, the information I would give each player will depend on what they need to work on. So if somebody turned and they were very armsy, then probably, yes, we would say, right, we need to get the body moving first. But let's say somebody got here and they went very early and they left their arms up too long, they were spinning out of it too early, we might give them the feel for something with the arms going first, possibly. So that information will depend on what's working with the player and what they need to work on that's going to produce the correct sequence. So generally we would say ground up, but again, we're going to assume your backswing, which is a big assumption, is there or thereabouts for this video. And we're going to talk more with what the body's got to do, because the biggest thing that I see with most players, most amateurs, is once they've completed, let's say, a swing that we're happy with, they'll tend to stay on the back foot, strike it somewhere here, and maybe look quite good at the end, but because they've got there too late, the strike is never quite as good as it should be. So for this video in particular, we're talking about the body motion and the sequence of that. Now, again, we're assuming top of the swing we're quite happy with. For me, the first move players need to have once they're getting near the top, or certainly at the top of the backswing, is some sort of movement back towards the target. So we've done this in a couple of videos lately where you get to almost top of the swing. Most players will not recenter themselves, will not get enough pressure on the left foot early enough. And that's why we get a lot of heavy shots, thin shots, because their pressure is still back here. So from the top of the swing, we need a movement back to the target. We'd also like, if you're in a position to do it, a movement towards the target and down into that left side. So really pressing into this left foot. So you'll lose a bit of height. Again, if you lost height on the backswing, we wouldn't want you losing more height on the way down. You'd have to sort that out first. But if you're there or thereabouts on the backswing, we want into the left foot, not only that way, but also down into the ground a bit more on that left side. So the reason we go back to the target is to recenter yourself, so you've got more chance of striking it well. And the reason we like to see players go down is then we can use the ground to press back up, and you'll get a lot more club head speed. Prior to that pressing back up, we've got to add some rotation. So to start the swing, it's going to be down into the left side. Then we're going to start rotating. And when the club's in this area somewhere, or left shoulder over that left foot, then you can start to, if you're in a position to do so, press back up. So when you see tall players lose height, dip, words like that, you might call it, that's a good thing if it's in that transition. So the first movement for me to start the downswing, and I wouldn't call it start the downswing because we probably want this to happen before you complete the backswing. So rather than getting to there and then going, it might be on that left side a bit earlier, which would be a good thing I suggest for most players, because not enough players go early enough. But to start the swing, it's back towards the target and back into the ground, assuming you're in a decent enough position to do that.